Oh yeah. I'm gonna try to come tomorrow and do it. Every day I want to try to do it. At least twice a day or something.
So C is the trailer. And anything, the driver's side of the trailer, one axle, and anything that's unique on the other side. There's nothing unique on the other side. Okay. So trailer's easy. We start with the header board. Make sure the header board's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no holes in it, and no more than 6 rivets missing in the line. Check the clearance light. Check them both. See the properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no moisture or air or both. Come over here to the side of the trailer. Make sure it's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. No holes, no more than 6 rivets missing in a line. Check the DOT reflector tape. Run it all the way down the trailer. Make sure there's none of it missing. Make sure that it is all clean, properly mounted and secured. This right here is the frame. This underneath this tape is the frame. Check the frame to make sure it's properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, it's properly twisted. And there's no rivets missing on it. Now look under the frame, these rivets are attached to cross members. Make sure they're all properly mounted, secured. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. They're not twisted, none are missing. Now look at the floor real quick, just to make sure that the floor is good condition. It's secured right, it's not no holes, and it's not dry rotted. Now look over here, this is my landing gear. Look at my landing gear, my legs and my feet. All at once. Make sure it's properly mounted, secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, or twisted. Make sure the feet and the landing gear legs are in their full raised position. Make sure the feet are both present and accounted for in this thing. And I check the landing gear crank handle. Make sure it's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, and it's sitting in its cradle.
Do you have to twist it? Is that where you gotta twist it a little bit for the DPS people?
I'm not gonna twist it.
But you do though, right?
I've never done it.
Oh, okay.
I don't want people messing with that thing.
Okay, I was just asking. Okay.
Come over here with my multi-function light. Right here. Running light, turn signal, hazards. Make sure it's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. Make sure it is clean. Make sure it is no moisture in it, and it's my airlines right down here. Check my airlines, make sure there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts on them. They're all secured with that spring. They're at least 18 inches off the ground. And they're not leaking. Since I'm down here, I look at my tandem slide rail right here and my little pins. Make sure it's properly mounted, secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, or twisted. I make sure the locking pins on the rail are in place in their full lock position. This is my little release lever right here. I make sure it's properly mounted, secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. I make sure it's in its full lock position. Make sure there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts on there. It's an air system, so I make sure there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts on it. Keep wandering back. Make sure my ABS light is in good condition. Properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's yellow, and it's clean, with no moisture. Marker light right here. Make sure it's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. Make sure it's clean. Make sure it is no moisture. On to the vacuum cleaner. I start from top down. My clearance lights, my red clearance lights are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. They are clean, and they are no moisture, and there's no moisture in them. I check my 4 multifunction lights. My brakes and my turn signals, and they're all running lights. Just make sure that they're properly mounted, secured. Make sure they're not cracked, bent, or broken. Make sure there's no moisture in them. I check the rubber seals on them, just to make sure the rubber seals are in good condition and not dry rotted. I check my license plate light. Make sure my license plate light works. Make sure my license plate is present and legible. top. I check my door. I check my door all the way up and down, make sure it's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's wood, so it's not dry rotted. None of the panels are missing. I make sure there's no cuts, tears, or frays on either one of the 2 wires. Both presently accounted for. And my handle's in good condition, not cracked, bent, or broken, or bent into a pretzel like it currently is. My release latch and its lock are currently not cracked, bent, or broken. They're in good condition. They're properly mounted, secured. And my bumper. My bumper is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, not twisted off. Since I've done my bumper, I put my DOT reflector tape on my door and my bumper at the same time to make sure it's all presently accounted for, make sure there's none missing, and it's all visible. Alright, so let's wander underneath the trailer. I check my mud flap. Make sure my mud flaps are properly mounted, secured. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. They are at no more than 8 inches off the ground. I do my suspension the first every time I get under this thing. This is an air ride suspension, which means it doesn't have a spring hanger, it doesn't have leaf springs, and it doesn't have U-bolts. What it does have is a shock absorber that's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. Properly mounted, secured at both ends. Sorry, not cracked, bent, or broken, not leaking. Throw rumble grommets are in place. And an airbag that's properly mounted, secured at both ends. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts, or dry rot, and it's not leaking. It's got little air lines that run to it, make sure that they're all there, not leaking, no abrasions, bulges, or cuts on it. That's the suspension. Now we'll do the brakes. Start with the brake line. Brake line is properly mounted, secured at both ends. There's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts on it. All the fittings are in place and it's not leaking. Run to the brake chamber. Properly mounted, secured. Not cracked, bent, or broken. Not leaking. Secured by a clamp that is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. Here's my slack adjuster and push rod for this, because this is a drum system. My slack adjuster and push rod are both properly mounted, secured. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. If I was going to test the slack on this thing, I'd release the brakes, and it should not move more than an inch when pulled by hand. It wanders into the drum. The drum is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. And the brake shoes underneath it, which are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. They're not worn dangerously thin, and there's no sign of oil or debris on them. Next I go to the inner rim, that's the brakes. Inner rim right there, I will start with that separately. Properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no holes or illegal welds. Same as with the tires up front. I next go to the spacing. Look for debris in the spacing, make sure there's none there. I make sure that it's even, that the rims are touching and they are in good condition, no cracks, bends, or breaks, or holes or welds. I make sure the rims are touching, the tires aren't. I check the tires, inside, outside tire, all at once. I make sure that they are all properly mounted, secured, no abrasions, bulges, or cuts on them. That the tops are worn evenly, and they're at least 2 30-second tread depth. I come to the outside rim. Make sure the outside rim is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broke, and has no holes or illegal welds. I check the valve stems, metal valve stems with metal caps. Make sure they're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. I would check the inflation of these tires with the tire gauge to make sure they're at manufacturer specified level. These little whole things we can talk about, just make sure that there are no abrasions, bulges, or cuts on them, they're not leaking. Alright, I check all the lug nuts by hand for tightness. I'd make sure that they are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, no rust or shiny spots on them, indicative of looseness. And finally, I check the axle seal. Make sure the axle seal is properly mounted, secured, all the bolts are in place, it's not cracked, bent, or broken, it's not leaking. That's straight.
And do we have to say the axle going across it when we're underneath? No?
Okay. Point.
Okay.